welcome to the second episode of the newly rebooted official Dragon's Den Dragon Quest podcast, Slime Time.
And if you're listening to this podcast because you thought it was about the kids' toy slime, you're in luck. Not.
I'm your host, Matt Mason, aka Plattym3.
And I'm your host, Liam Kirsting, aka Liamland. Tonight we're excited to present to you our first episode that just doesn't consist of two old Dragon Quest gamers sitting around interviewing each other.
That's right. We've got a third old Dragon Quest gamer to interview.
What I love about that intro music is, like, Platty, since you don't play with the sound on, and the game just like freezes up when that music plays, so you're just kind of sitting there like, what's going on?
It's a long wait.
Tonight we're happy to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the wallet behind the website that's the home of the unofficial Dragon Quest fan club since the late 90s, Mr. Brian Woodus Schumacher. Welcome, Woodus.
Hey, thanks for having me. I don't know if I'm much of a legend, maybe more myth than anything.
That's all right. Thanks for recording with us today, Brian. With the launch of Dragon Quest XI-S, the definitive edition for the Nintendo Switch, now coming out later this month, we figured we'd talk to you about that version and the one that released last year on the PC, PS4, and we'll discuss all the new stuff that we kind of know of, or some of the new stuff that we know of coming to the updated version later this month.
So yeah, we're going to cover up on a bunch of Dragon Quest XI stuff today. Most of it's spoiler-free, but we'll warn everyone later on we'll go into anything spoilerific. So before we get to that, though, let's get to know Brian better by running through the gauntlet of questions for our new guests, and of course ending with a round of Mary Thwack Puff Puff. Matt, do you want to ask the first question?
Sure. I'll start right away with I'm sure something a lot of people wonder, because it's not dragonsden.com, it's woodus.com. Why Woodus? And why do you start the den? Where'd that name come from?
Well, the name Woodus I got in high school. I don't know if I've ever really been told how I got the name or why I got the name, and maybe I don't want to know. But everybody referred to me as that. A lot of my teachers even called me that, and my parents bought me that as my license plate for my car when it's my 16th or 17th birthday, and I've had it ever since. So if you're ever driving around Iowa and see Woodus on a license plate, that's me.
All the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. But the den originally kind of came around in 97 when I was still in college. It was a hobby site that I wanted to be a web developer, and that was a way to try and hone my skills as trying to be a web developer. And I remember loving Dragon Quest as a young kid, and there were no sites about it back Dragon Warrior back then. So I thought, well, I'll base it around that. And I came up with the name Dragon's Den from the Captain N cartoon that was on in the 90s, because I was hooked on that show when I was a kid and thought that would be a good tie-in. After college, the contents of the site were kind of moved around to a lot of the different free dial-up providers back then. Prodigy, I think I had CompuServe for a while, and I finally got tired of having my email address change all the time. So I bought woodus.com based on my nickname back in 99 and started moving everything into that.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, your site's been around a long time, especially, like back in the early days of when there were just a handful of Dragon Quest fan sites out there. I always remember your site and Dwayne and Dustin's DQ Shrine.
I think it started about around the same time.
I think this might have been before GameFAQs really took off, or maybe around the time it was starting to. So the Den was one of the early places to get definitive information about the games when you couldn't get it anywhere else.
Yeah, and when I started, I didn't even know 5 and 6 existed, or emulation for that fact. I know you brought that up in the last podcast.
Oh yeah, I've definitely gotten some information about that from various sources, either in the forum or.
Yeah, I was going to say it must have been 98, 99. I think I mentioned that last time, when I first even heard of emulation, but I didn't play 5 and 6 and the translations till like 2001, 2003, something like that.
Yeah, I was somewhere around 99, 2000 because I was in college and I was hearing rumblings that 7 was coming out. I was like, oh, I gotta play 5 and 6. Just kind of across the community through the Enix forums.
Yeah, and I don't remember the Enix forums back then. I don't know if I just wasn't connected enough, or because I didn't get the newsletter either from them, so I just was oblivious to that at the time.
Yeah, me too. I had no clue. I don't think I got Dragon Quest VII until a year after it came out. I didn't even know that existed.
Huh.
I will say most of my console purchases have been because of Dragon Quest games.
Oh, ditto.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've got so many consoles specifically that I can't sell, I can't get rid of because I have a Dragon Quest game tied to them.
Yeah.
So how did you get into Dragon Quest?
Like lots of people, it was the Nintendo Power subscription giveaway. I know I probably had like a year or something subscription at the time, but then I can't remember if it was a flyer. I think I've seen somebody post copies of the flyer that they mailed out on the internet that said, get this game free. It looked like a role-playing game that I thought would look great to play. And I begged my mom to extend my subscription. I think I ended up with like a 3-year subscription after that just to get the game, but loved it ever since.
So, obviously, you started with the first one, and I know you played almost all of them, side games and everything. What are some of your favorite games, either story-wise, gameplay-wise, job, class, skill, progression-wise?
Well, up until 11 came out, but it's a tough choice because I really like all of them for different reasons, and I don't know if I really have a favorite. I have a lot of good memories about 3 because of all the buddies I had in junior high and high school that we were all trying to beat it at the same time. So that always sticks in my mind. I mean, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
I'd have to say 11 now. I think it's just kind of the whole package, and I like the new skill system. The story is great in my opinion. It's just been a blast to play. I can't wait to play it again at the end of the month.
Yeah, I said that last time. I said I've got nostalgia for all the games for different reasons, but if you had to say pick the best one, they made the best one. They've progressed and learned from it all and brought back nostalgia in that game for everything. So 100% agree.
So what's if you could only play one DQ game for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Well, just for the amount of time that you can put into it, and I really liked 9. I know there's a lot of people that don't, but it was the first one that got my kids and my wife into playing Dragon Quest, and I've got 300 hours on my save file now, and I haven't even scratched the surface of the grotto bosses. I could probably spend the rest of my life just grotto bossing in that game, and I think that'd be a blast to play through. So I really hope the rumors about 9 getting a reboot here are true.
Yeah, I have a good feeling about that. Just because when they mentioned something like, what would you do if 9 got released for Switch or whatever, when the social media sites are and the professional sites are kind of dropping hints like that, I just have a good feeling about it.
I mean, what game hasn't been remade
yeah,
in the series? I mean, heck, they've
Good
already
point.
remade 11. I mean, added to it, but and the Switch is going to be the hottest thing for a few years.
Yeah.
So makes sense. Brian, any games you haven't got around to playing in the series but would like to?
Mori Mori 3 is one I would like to play. My kids really got into the second one. I know we never got the first one, but that was a lot of fun. I'd like to play that, and with the fresh translation patch, I may actually get a chance to take that one on.
Yes. We'll talk about that a little later.
Same with Caravan Heart. I know there's a patch for that one. I haven't tried that one yet either, and I'd love to see the 3DS remakes of the early Monsters games.
All right.
So, any games in the series that didn't really resonate with you?
Today, not so much. When the first Monsters games came out for the Game Boy Color, I wasn't real hot on those, but now going back and playing them, I love them. So they've all got different quirks and things I love about them. So there's not really one that really stands out that didn't resonate with me. I think I'm just too easygoing. I just like them all.
Yeah, other than the one I mentioned last time, I can kind of see that. What about favorite or least favorite characters?
Yeah, I know Maribel's always the running joke as far as least liked characters. I know she's snarky and whiny, but I kind of like her to being that way. If I'd had to pick somebody playing through with my buddy back in Dragon Warrior 2, I just could not stand Canuck because he was always dead. He'd if you could store herbs in his coffin, he'd be more useful.
There's some really great fan art out there that's just like it's the Prince of Midenhall and the Princess of Moonbrook dragging Canuck's like coffin around.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's been repeated, that joke, but it's like it's funny every time.
It is.
Funny because it's true.
Yeah.
And as far as favorites go, I love the comic relief characters. So I love Yangus from 8, and Sylvando's been great in 11.
Yeah, Sylvando is over the top, like the soldiers of Smile and the whole parade and everything.
Oh yeah.
We don't want to put any spoilers there, so I'm not going to go beyond that. But if you haven't played 11 yet, enjoy.
Definitely.
My son had the perler bead creation of Sylvando out the other day, my 3-year-old, and they watched me play a lot of Dragon Quest XI, and he took it out and he's like, "Daddy, this guy's from Dragon Quest XI." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's his name?" And I said, "Sylvando." He's like, "Sylvando," and he said it a couple times, and his eyes lit up, and he's like, "He's the one that teaches you to dance." I was like, my God, you're 3 years old. This was like 9 months ago. And yes, you remember that very clearly. That is the character that teaches you to dance.
That's awesome.
They have the equipment that you just like you're constantly dancing while wearing.
So Brian, do you have any cool experiences running the Dragon's Den that have opened up to you from running this for 20 plus years?
Well, meeting all the people just online, and I know I've met you and Zachary in person. I need to make it out sometime to meet you yet, Liam.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, I need a trip back out to New York at some point, so that'd be a good trip out. I did get a couple early copies of Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 and 3 when they came out for the Game Boy Color from the PR team that was helping with those back then. So that was nice to get a little bit of an early copy on those. But probably the coolest thing so far was when Joker 2 came out and we ran the Monster Scout and Superfan contests. I got to go to San Francisco for a day and meet with the PR team there. So that was fun to go out and meet them and kind of help officially somewhat promote Dragon Quest.
That's pretty awesome. I think those were during my dark days on the Den.
They could have been, yeah.
I'm not really sure what you mean by dark days. Were you like brooding a lot, or you just weren't there?
I just wasn't there. There was a couple years that after I was running the contest for a while, I just life events. Like one day I didn't log on, and then it was another day, and then it was another day, and then it was like a month. And at the time, I had been reading every forum post in every thread, and I do that now too. I mean, there's not exactly thousands a day or anything, but back then there was quite a bit, and it, after taking a week off, a month off, it just like cascaded, and I was like, I want to read them all, but there's too much, and I can't jump back right in, and then, next thing I know, it was a year and a half, 2 years later.
I think I had a summer like that once. I think you guys were all worried I dropped off the face of the planet there.
I
remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
I know. So I know how that goes. You just kind of get out of the habit and.
Exactly.
I think people just freak out when like the den goes down and they're used to posting there regularly. There was one time, I think a couple of years ago, where it went down for like weeks.
Yeah, my host had
And
a database snafu. That was a nightmare.
yeah, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, we got to figure out something else.
I know Zachary and I talked with a PlayStation Messenger for like a month.
Yeah, that's what caused me to move web hosts. It was after that fiasco.
All right, we're gonna talk about Dragon Quest XI in just a minute, but what is that? I know you got to play it a whole year before most of us, and because you imported it. But tell us how you went about doing that and how you went about playing it as an import copy, because I'm guessing you know no Japanese.
No, I know nothing at all. I got through most of Dragon Quest Heroes in Japanese without much translation help. That one was simple enough that you could kind of figure out what was going on. But when 11 came out, there was just so much quest-based stuff. It was going to be impossible to figure out what was going on. And I wanted to kind of understand the story because I knew there was so much historical tie-in with it. So I had a USB webcam I hooked to my laptop. And I pointed at the TV screen. And then I was using the camera app in Windows 10 to view the TV. And I wrote a script with a program called AutoIt, which would let you script commands that when I hit the spacebar on the laptop, it would capture the area from the webcam that had the text box in it, because in Dragon Quest, a lot of times the text box is in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
It would capture that with another program called Capture to Text, which would take the Japanese and make it copyable text, and then I'd paste it into Google Translate, and then it would spit me back the English.
Huh. So you're saying it was easy?
Well, no, but it was doable. I mean, you had a 5
that is dedication.
I really wanted to play that one, and that was back when we weren't sure if we were going to get it.
Yeah.
So I was still worried that we weren't even going to see it over here. So I wanted to play it, and
I'm starting to think 10 might not come out.
And what was your first clue?
Yeah, I know there's people that are playing it.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few people on the Den who are playing 10. It's great to watch on Twitch.
And I think they're using some similar method of translation.
Oh really?
Or there's some helper app that they've got.
Google has a live translate now for Japanese.
Yeah, they had it for a while, and then it stopped working. It stopped working like sometime around when I was living in Japan in 2017. But I'm not sure if it started up again. Like you basically you could download the live translate so that you could work locally without internet, but then I think that stopped working. I don't know how good the live translate is without having some sort of router or connection. The data.
I used it a little bit with the 3DS copy of Dragon Quest XI last September, October. I kind of just held up my phone for a little bit. I didn't play more than like 20 minutes, and going after already playing the PS4 version past the point of the beginning and reading that, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have made it very far in this at all.
Yeah,
this live translate is, there's too many little things everywhere.
Lost in translation, like a lot of like all your base kind of stuff. You're kind of just okay. I don't know what that means, but let's keep going.
Yeah, I actually tried that on my phone before I set up the whole laptop jazz and went that route with it, but it was so poorly at picking out the context that at least Google Translate was doing a better job than the live Google Translate.
Mm-hmm.
At least I could get the gist enough to get through the game.
Yeah, I mean, you had the actual symbols from Japanese in there, so that probably helped. It wasn't trying to interpret the symbol while simultaneously translating.
Yes.
All right. Well,
so I was actually I was asking Plattym. So when we were doing this podcast for the first time, setting up, and I was like, "Oh man, all right, I've got everything set up. I've got a bunch of waters and everything." And I was like, "How are you preparing?" And he's like, "Oh, I cracked 2 beers earlier."
So if you're wondering why I was noticeably louder than Liam the first episode, that might have been part of it.
Oh yeah. Well, I just have a microphone that's closer to my face now. But yeah, I'm about to crack my first beer of the night. Patty, you probably have like 2 or 3 in you right now, right?
I'm good. I'm going good.
I've got my cow beers going, so.
Okay.
All right, you're gonna need a beer for this one because it's our
yeah.
last question, and then we'll get into the Dragon Quest XI stuff. So, Brian, you've heard it. You've been part of the back channel talking about this. It's time for you to play Marry, Thwack, Puff Puff.
I can only imagine what you guys picked for me.
But we did give you a layup here, and since we're doing Dragon Quest XI, we themed this after Dragon Quest XI. So this actually may be harder in certain ways than other ones. So we're going to give you 3 of the girls from Dragon Quest XI. You ready?
Sure.
All right. You've got Jade, Gemma, and Serena.
Oh, that is a tough one. Wow. You're kind of throwing the Bianca card in there with Gemma a little bit.
Yes.
Childhood best friend, you mean?
What's that?
You mean childhood best friend?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I think I got to go Puff Puff Jade just because.
Reasons. 2 of them.
2, yeah. 2 obvious reasons. Boy, that other one's tough though.
Yeah, see, this was tougher on the Thwack part than the other ones, I think.
It is. I'm going to go Thwack, Gemma, and Mary Serena.
There you go. One adventure's with you, the other one just sits at home. Too bad.
And just
dead to me.
We gotta throw this in there too. Let's do a spontaneous mix of the guys in there too. For no reason. How about Eric, Rab, and Sylvando?
Wow. All right, let's we'll go way out here then. We'll go Thwack, Eric, Mary, Sylvando, Puff Puff, Rab.
Right.
Wow. I would have gone Eric was the bromance. So that's the Mary. That's the Mary. Sylvando's just for fun, that's the Puff Puff. And Thwack Rab.
Well, Rab may have the better assets for an actual Puff Puff, though.
That is true. That is very true.
He'd drop a magazine right after.
Oh, he knows what he's doing. That's true.
Yeah.
I did not put enough thought into that. All right, so let's get over to Dragon Quest XI. We'll be spoiler-free for a bit here. Kind of talk really quickly. I'm going to whip through just the characters and some stuff, some plot. We're not going to go very far into this because I know a lot of you can listen to other podcasts and get 3 hours worth of story and whatever. And that's good, but we want to talk more about our memories with the game. So Dragon Quest XI, you've got your set of characters. You got the Luminary, as you play as. This is not a big secret. You are supposedly the savior of the world. Even they tell you that right from the intro and everything. Along the way, you run into Eric, who's a thief. You'll find some sisters, Serena, who becomes your party's cleric, Veronica, who's the little red girl you see in all the previews. She's your party mage. You have Jade, the martial artist. Rab, who we were just talking about, the old guy. He's your martial artist / mage. He kind of got a dual role there. Sylvando, he's kind of hard to define. He's got a little bit of everything. He's the jester class almost, like from Dragon Quest III, but he's got some decent physical attacks. He does a lot of status abilities, ups and downs, and he has the healing dance. And you can definitely abuse some of that in the game. Just plot-wise, I think I can do this in like a minute or two. The whole game takes place in, how do we pronounce this, guys? Erdrea?
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah. So it's Erdrea. You're in the kingdom of Dundrasil. and it opens with Dundersill being invaded by an army of monsters. The protagonist, you, the hero, you're a little infant in the attack. You attempt to escape. It looks like your mom or some queen is trying to help you escape. You get separated, and very biblical, yeah, because just like Moses in the Bible, you end up going down the stream in a little basket. And you get found by a man named Chalky in the village of Cobblestone, and he adopts you. Well, his daughter Amber adopts you, and you're raised in the village. As a teenager, you participate in a coming of age tradition. You climb up to the top of the Cobblestone Tor with your childhood friend Gemma, and during the trek, you're attacked by monsters. And while you're fighting to protect Gemma, a mark on your hand starts glowing, and you summon lightning and defeat the monsters. So finding that a little bit puzzling, you go back down to Mom, who opens up all about your birth and your adoption. She tells you, you're like the hero. You're the luminary come to save the world. You go tell the king about that. It's time to go introduce yourself to the king. And upon meeting him and his royal knights, you get thrown into the dungeon. And accused
of being one of the first major plot twists.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's all in that first trailer. I mean, you kind of expect this from the beginning.
Yeah, because you're walking in there thinking like, oh wow, this is great. I'm gonna go get my first quest. It's gonna be like Stornoway and 9, or one of the other major castles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you're immediately like, nope. When bad things happen in the world, there's always a luminary around. You're not here to save us. It must be all these bad things are happening because of you being the luminary. So, into jail. And once in jail, you meet Eric. He recognizes the mark on your hand. He's like, oh my gosh, you're the luminary, the legendary hero, chosen by the Yggdrasil tree, which is at the very center of Erdrea. And you can kind of see it in the background of a lot of different areas of the game. Just this huge tree growing in the middle of the world. And he believes you're fated to meet up with him. You escape jail. You head over to the town Hodo, where you meet the twin sisters. They're from Arborea, which is at the foot of the tree. You find out Veronica, they actually are twin sisters, but Veronica had a little mishap along the way and now looks like she's like 8 years old.
This is actually kind of a cool twist too, and I actually wish they would have shown more about this plot. And they talk about it in exposition, but so she gets captured by monsters at some point, and they're trying to suck the magic out of her, and they inadvertently suck her age instead of the magic.
I mean, yeah, it's a good thing. I'd like to be 10 years younger.
One of the cooler backstories, I think, that any of the characters in this game have. I always thought that was really interesting. I just wish they would have shown, maybe in flashback or something, what happened, or like what they were doing.
Well, now, do we know in S, is that the kind of stuff that's going to be brought in with their other stories, or is it a point later in time that they're going to pull in those stories? Have they said that yet?
I mean, I think I read the implication is most of it is going to be at the end of Act 1.
Okay.
And without going into spoilers, the game's really split into 3 parts. Once you get your whole party together, you're going to go to the World Tree and something's going to happen. And at that point, the party becomes separated and you have to find everybody again and continue on the journey in Act 2 of the game. And from what I understand, almost all of these little scenarios or little things that you're going to be doing in the S version are supposed to take place when the party split up.
Okay.
But, that would be an awesome one to have. I mean,
it would.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but there's a lot that they add to the game that I wished was in the PS4 version. Because I remember we're sitting there at the demo at I think Comic-Con or PAX East, I don't remember, and and I'm playing this. Oh, actually, no, it was the Anime Expo out in LA, and people are asking me like, "What did you think of the demo?" And I was like, "Oh, it was really cool. I kind of wish you got experience points for killing monsters with the horse."
That's gonna be awesome.
By person, that would be awesome. You know, if the experience points, even if the experience points didn't go to that character, if you leveled the horse, you know, I'd be fine with that, just as long as it's attributed somewhere. And I think that they added not horse leveling, but I think that they added you now gain some experience from trampling over monsters with the horse.
Yeah, that's something in the game when you're riding a horse through the overworld. The smaller monsters, slimes, and small things. When you're on the horse and you run into them, it doesn't initiate a battle. They just go flying.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger monsters, if you're trying to ride a horse into a dragon, it's going to start a fight. But yeah, it was just skipping battles at that point. But apparently, with our new version, we're going to get some experience with that. So
that's pretty sweet. So yeah, I hope they enable that at some point for PS4 and a download. Square Enix is listening.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the whole. I didn't want to get any more into the plot. I mean, you'll meet the other players along the way. You'll meet Sylvando, who we've already talked about. He's a traveling entertainer. You're going to meet Rab, who's the former Dundrasil. You see him in the trailer 2 at the table talking at the beginning of the game. You'll meet, Jade. You'll figure out who she is and how she's related to the whole story. And yeah, the whole first part of the game is gathering the party together and getting to the Yggdrasil tree. And when you get there, that's 30, 40 hours in.
Yeah.
That's when the shit hits the fan.
And, yeah. And that's essentially the end of the first part ends pretty dark note, and it makes you feel like, oh man, there's you could, if you think that game is over after the end of the first part, because like credits are rolling and everything. And
well, the credits don't roll there.
Oh, they don't. Oh, all right. I'm thinking of
Act 2. Yeah. So yeah, there's still a lot to do there, and then the second half when you're regathering the party and confronting evil. I mean, that's what you do in Dragon Quest. You fight some sort of demon lord, bad guy, whatever. Act 2 consists of that and all the plot twists that have happened since the stuff when shit went down. And yeah, at the end of Act 2, you get credits, and it's like, hey, that's the end of the game. And then there's a lot of little plot threads and things that you've noticed throughout the game that just aren't really wrapped up. And if you want to, there's another 30, 40 hours of very heavy story stuff left for you to do.
Yeah, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Act 3,
it is.
Essentially just fixing a lot that just never got resolved before in the game, and it's it's very rewarding. Act 3.
It's almost like the TV show Quantum Leap. I'm not going to say anything more than that.
Yeah, no.
I'm not going to any more spoilers than that, but just imagine yourself as Scott Bakula.
Yep.
I've always wanted to write the script for a reboot of Quantum Leap. I'll just throw some Dragon Quest reference.
I'd watch it.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. All right, so that's all we want to really go into with players and everything. The rest we want to be just kind of share our experiences with it. Kind of go through some questions, go through your favorite parts and everything. What's everyone's favorite character or characters? Ryan, you want to start us off?
Oh, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I got to go Sylvando. He's just he's just awesome. He's just so over the top. He's a good battler. He's well balanced. He's fun to play with. His commentary is hilarious.
Yeah,
they did great with his character.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give props to anyone who hands a piece of crap to a monster with his bare hand. With his bare hand, like not even wearing a glove or anything. Here you go.
And that's legit in the game, people. That is.
Yeah.
Liam is not exactly
Sorry for that spoiler.
We won't tell you which monster and what color the crap
Epic
is, but
spoiler.
no, he's definitely my favorite because I mean, even his story is good.
Yes.
Like the story with his dad and all this stuff with that and his background and whatnot. I mean, he's not just comic relief the whole time. There's actually some like serious stuff there. And I mean, I found this probably tied with Dragon Quest IV in terms of my favorite cast of characters. It's very hard to pick a weak one in this group because they do all have good stories and you get to explore them a lot. And it sounds like we're going to even get to explore them more in the definitive edition. But yeah, Sylvando is the one that really just hits all those parts.
Yeah. I mean, I like Veronica's story a lot too, but there's just so much more to Sylvando. And he's just so incredibly over the top. Like everything incredibly like flamboyant and like in your face, and he's got it's not even just him, but he's got an entire entourage of dudes, the soldiers of smile.
Oh yes.
It's just so over the top that you can't help but smile, regardless of like how you feel about the character or what your politics are or whatever. He's just so over the top, and I feel like, without getting too much into the politics of it, like the gay community has not really had a strong character like that before. But also, like he's such an incredible sword fighter that. He's not just a jester. He's not just like the gadabout character that's just there to help improve the luck of the team or whatever. Like he is, if you don't use him, you're at a loss because he's just a fantastic sword fighter.
Yeah, no, he's got the attack. He's got the hustle dance.
Yeah.
Full party healing. I mean, he does have a lot of great things. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to build him out because in this game you get to build the skills with a little bit more choice, a little bit neater than Dragon Quest VIII, definitely a little less linear there. But yeah, you can go all over the place, get sword skills with him and healing skills, and just build up his magic and everything. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, that hustle dance too, which is the skill that Jessica has in 8 and Heroes that I used a lot. But Sylvando's got it as well. And that's incredibly helpful in battle. It's a multi-heal ability.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on from him, what was your favorite town? Because these towns were all pretty memorable. I'll start mine off, and it's funny, I was just checking my fantasy football results here, and I joined a league with RP Gamer this year, and I named mine the Hodo's Hothead Heroes. Because that's my favorite. And in our trash talking little area, I've only talked in haikus. I don't think anyone's really picked up on it yet, because not everybody has played Dragon Quest XI as much as me. But there's a town that you come to called Hodo. It's Hotto, and I mean it looks like you would expect a traditional Japanese town to look, and every character there, even the little kids, talk in haikus. And like sometimes the kids mess up the haiku, which is funny. Or there's people who like almost mess it up. But the whole town, that's just great.
There's one or two tourists who don't speak, but like for the majority of it, it's just like it's so funny, but it's also like mildly pretentious that everyone's talking haiku.
That had to take some work to do.
Yeah, they had to come. Oh, someone's approaching me. I must compose.
Yeah, the localization for that town.
Yeah, is that only in the localization? I'd be curious to see if the Japanese version had.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I can't answer that.
It didn't come out in haiku form with your Google Translate?
If it did, I wouldn't have known it then.
So, Brian, you like Hodo too?
Yeah, that was a great town. I liked Honolulu a lot too.
Mm.
I like the story with that one too, and the one character there, because she spoke all in rhyme, and my son just
right.
part, and he's like, I didn't even catch that. I'm like, yeah, well, read it. She speaks all in rhyme.
Yeah. Well, Lana Lulu, being an homage to Honolulu.
Yep.
So they were emulating Hawaii there, and of course, Hado. The architecture is very Japanese. They even have like the torii gates, similar to what you might find in the famous gates in Kyoto in Japan. So yeah, they're definitely emulating like various cultures. Gondolia is like probably Italy, Florence, maybe where they have all the gondola rides.
Venice.
They do a really good job with like emulating various cultures throughout and just kind of making it their own.
Yeah, it's kind of like they did with 4, which each of the chapters were just not quite so heavy on some of the accents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of took that idea and ran with it visually and with the accents and the way they spoke too.
Right.
But the visuals actually matched that this time. Blech.
Especially when you have like voice acting and it's not fully voice actor supported, but it's a lot easier to kind of tolerate those accents when you're hearing it, I think, than when you have to read it and then like retranslate.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing Dragon Quest IV and kind of going through Berland, and everyone's like heavy Scottish accent and everything that wasn't there in the original, but now you have to kind of try.
Yeah, you almost kind of had to sound it out in your mind to figure out what they were saying.
Yeah.
When you're hearing it, it was like you said, a lot easier to figure it out.
Right. Google Translate's not going to work with that one.
No.
All right, Liam, did you have a favorite town?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think. I should have Googled all the towns before we started this to remind myself. Gondolia was that's one of the memorable ones. Yeah, I'd probably have to go with that, just because I like that. You're not just restricted to the actual lanes that you can kind of walk in. There's like little hidden areas that you can unlock later, and then there's just you can take a gondola ride to like quickly zip around to another part of the city. And I mean, there's a part where in that you have to be very stealthy. And I really like that part, sneaking around the town, avoiding like the enemy soldiers and everything. I thought was fantastic.
That had one of the funniest little things to find too. There were the 2 brothers that were selling weapons and armor in that town, and that's the one where if you kept going back and forth to the different guys, like, oh, you want to buy this item? Sure.
The bidding war.
Yeah, and it just kept going lower and lower, and I mean, at one point you got like 90% off an item. I think later in the game. And I want to say it was 3 different times in the game if you went there. I think the first one was like a cat suit for Veronica, and then there were weapons for characters later on, or a piece of armor too. And yeah, they were just great going back and forth. Talk to the one brother. Oh man, my brother said he'd sell it to you for 4,000. Well, I'll do 3,000. Then you go back to the first guy.
I think that comes from a barter town in 6, where you have to go and like there's 2 different characters who are trying to outbid each other on like opposite sides of the town.
I don't doubt it, because I mean almost everything in this game feels like a callback to something.
Yeah.
I know the Puff in the what was the horse in the desert was identical to the scene in Dragon Quest III where you first get a Puff in the series. Gallipolis, yes.
Yep. Yeah, that was it was the first Puff I think in an English release game. It was Dragon Warrior 3. I think they were in there originally in the first 2 games, but when they got localized, I guess they were like, this is not quite ready for the awesomeness of what this is. So the inside joke or whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I think I read somewhere or saw some reference to it in the forums that the original games 1 and 2 also had references to it, but were relocalized to take them out.
Okay. So yeah, the callbacks were great. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm sure you know more about 6 than me. I kind of breeze through that game with my eyes closed and try not to pay attention. But we talked about that last time, so we won't go back into that. So the battle system changed a little in Dragon Quest XI. You could do some movements around. There was things called pet powers, and you didn't start at the beginning of the turn just selecting all your commands and letting the turn play out. You went character by character, enemy by enemy. You never. There's not a way to tell who's coming up next, was there? I don't want to say there's a visual cue on there to like which character's coming up next. You just know that all your characters are going to get to do their turn before they do it again. But what do you guys think of the battle system changes?
I like that it didn't schedule everything right at the beginning. I like that it was kind of broke up in between the battle. The pet powers kind of threw me off a little bit at first because I think I liked the way they did it in 8 until I learned the trick that you could swap somebody out into the back party to hold on to their pet power for later use. Then I really liked it for that because you could kind of store them up.
Yeah, that's great. It's like Double Dash from Mario Kart. Where you can grab something and then switch the characters back. Sorry, that's an old school reference.
Well, we're talking about Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, so
yeah,
old school is
it's allowed.
Yeah, I like the battle system too. I did start out with that the new type of battle system where you're kind of like you can wander around the battle, but then I found out that there's really kind of no strategic advantage to that. Because regardless of like if you ran around the back of the monster and he was attacking forward, he would still hit you. You know, so after a while I just kind of thought it would slow down a little bit battle, so I just I switched it to classic mode, so it was a little bit more like Dragon Quest VIII. And that was.
I did that too because, and I've said this plenty of times. My favorite Dragon Quest is like my second favorite battle system. My number one by far is the Grandia series, and in the Grandia series, it's almost just like Dragon Quest XI, but position matters. That's the best way to describe it. It's pretty much Dragon Quest XI, but position does matter, and so seeing this and then like moving around the field, but it didn't really matter. I was like, nah, I don't want to fool myself here. And I did the same thing with you, Liam. I think within the first 2 or 3 hours, I was just like, let me just set it so everybody's lined up.
I think I was like first 2-3 weeks. And then, let me just try it.
So, no, and the pet powers were different. I did not experiment enough with them as much. I used whatever came about. It was pretty much late in the game where I started storing the people in the back to actually get them. Or there were some quests that you had to do that, do this pet power to do the quest. And
I spammed the hell out of like itemized kill.
Did you?
Yeah, with Eric and Luminary just to like get guaranteed steals. Yeah, I used that one. That's probably the one I used the most out of all. Like just guaranteed loot.
Nice.
Oh, we didn't have
the pet powers is very similar to the tension boosts from 9. The tension system from that.
Yep.
So it seems kind of familiar, but a little bit different at the same time because it requires you to. You can do just like so many more combos with it.
True, because you can pair it up with different people. It's not one or all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the pet powers stick around for a while. It's not that. Well, at least when you're pepped up, you can stay pepped up for a while. You get a little bit of boost to your stats. I mean, and then you can use the pet power, of course, but you don't have to use it right away.
Yeah, at least it notifies you when it's about to go away, so you could burn some high-level hits with it before you have to actually spend it as a pet power.
Correct. Yeah. So, all right. Another change or something new to this system was the sphere grid. Instead of having job classes, like in half the Dragon Quests, instead of having just a linear put skill points into this or that like you did in Dragon Quest 8 and 9, there was a sphere grid. and you could branch out in different ways. If you wanted to work on swords, great, but you didn't have to go linearly through the list. You didn't have to learn fire sword, flame sword, and this before you got to other ones. You could kind of go around. How did you like the sphere grid?
I like that quite a bit, but then again, like I said, I'm too easygoing. I like everything, but I really enjoyed that because you could just kind of jump around and pick and choose, or try and hunt out the ones that would give you that extra 10 points, skill points.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you really wanted to unlock itemized kill or something like that, if you kind of knew what area it was in, you could kind of work towards it.
Yeah, I liked. I mean, I like 9 where it gives you a list that you have to kind of work up to with the points and everything. But what was so cool about this is that you could do it a little bit more non-linear with the sphere grid, because you could just could unlock different trees at different times and work towards a certain line or a certain unlocking some hidden skill points, skill trees at your own leisure. And for the most part, I think you can pretty much unlock everything except for maybe a handful of things at the end that you might have to start grinding skill points for skill seeds.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm down to, it's like 4 or 5 panels per person when you get down to level 99.
So yeah, it's same as you guys. I liked it. They're knowing the way I want to play a character. I mean, and by the end, I was kind of unlocking everything, but like I was like, okay, if I'm doing swords, I don't care about Frost Slash. I'm never gonna remember, hey, this is a fire guy, I'm gonna need Frost Slash. I want to get up to like dual wielding swords and other stuff. So I'd work my way around that. I'm like, well, I don't need to spend 20 skill points on Frost Slash because I won't be doing it. I just know I won't.
There was one thing that I wish that they could have done, and maybe they'll do this in S. I don't know, but you can in 9 you can use Falcon. You can combo Falcon Slash with a Falcon Blade or a Weapon Blade, and give you 4 hits in a row.
Oh,
Smaller
yeah,
hits that add up the heavy damage.
Yeah, that was always fun to do.
Strength 5.
Yeah, the nearest thing to that. Oh, go ahead.
You can dual wield 2 Falcon Blades, and I was hoping to get 8 hits if we Falcon Flashed with 2.
That'd been awesome.
But it was not meant to be.
No, the closest you can get is with Eric when you can clone yourself, and then do like the Falcon Slash or the dual wield with him cloned. You get 4 or 6 hits or something in there. But yeah, not everything stacks.
Everything stacks like it should.
Something we didn't throw into our little kind of script we're going through here. What do you guys think of alchemy in this one? The how you did it, the forge.
The forge.
What do you think, Brian? How do you like the forge?
I didn't mind it. It took me longer to get into it than I did when it was the older style alchemy. But once I got the hang of it, and I will say it was a hell of a lot easier in the English version than I was trying to do the forge in the Japanese version. Once I got the hang of it, I enjoyed it because since it was kind of almost a mini game at that point, trying to get those perfect hits to get the +3s was fun.
Yeah. I mean, there was a challenge. I think I liked the 9's alchemy a little bit better. Just because
throw it in and you're done.
Yeah, you could accidentally do like a strong or a critical hit, and then like completely screw up something you were working on, and then you try to restart, and they won't let you do alchemy again. The alchemy pot or whatever the forge.
Oh yeah,
boiling, and you have to wait for it to stop boiling. Like I think it's pissed off and you try to cheat this.
Yep. Yeah. If you save and then reload a save to try to do save scam, it doesn't like that. Like the game knows. That is pretty funny.
I'll have to try that. I never tried that. I had so many perfectionist pearls by the end, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I want to say I did okay, and I was fine with a +2 for the most part, because I think a lot of people have said this. The game's not super difficult.
No.
Most of it. So I never felt like an extra 3 or 4 attack would really. I needed to sit there and keep doing this mini game over and over again to reach that.
Right.
And for the good stuff near the end, yeah, I had so much money, and you could buy those little perfectionist pearls to just keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'd buy them like 500 at a time and just play around with the forge for half an hour.
I think also one of the reasons why a lot of people are telling you the game is easy. There's so much exploration, and you're going to be in so many battles that your characters are just naturally going to be stacked. They're going to be jacked against whatever monsters are in the area that you're playing in. If you're doing a ton of exploring, I know I did a lot of hunting the crossbow shots and everything, and trying to track down the rare monsters and everything to get the gold versions of them or whatever. So yeah, I mean, if you are finding it easy in the beginning, like too easy where it's not as fun as you think it should be, there is a draconian quest mode that starts the game off like significantly harder. I think on a replay, if I ever get a Switch, fingers are crossed on that one. If I ever get a Switch and I get this, I'll have this version already purchased just in case. That's what I'll play my first replay in draconian mode. Have you guys explored that at all?
I didn't do any of them. I mean, there's a whole litany of them. With the harder monsters, or you can't run from battle.
Yeah.
There was one called Shy Pox that I thought was very silly. Like sometimes you just can't talk to people. You're trying to talk to an NPC, but oh no, you're too shy, so you can't talk to that NPC right then.
Nice, like real life.
Yeah, or there's ones where you can't equip armor, or you can't purchase stuff at the store, so you got to basically make everything at the forge or hope for monster drops. But we had somebody on the den that went through with like all of them and beat it with like all of them on, if I'm not mistaken. But not Zachary. But there was somebody I remember that as we were playing back in September, October last year, maybe around November, they were like, I did it, and posted the screenshot, and they like beat it with all 7 of those things.
Oh wow. Isn't there one that's like the townspeople are always lying to you or something?
That's coming up in
that's
the definitive.
New.
Yeah.
Oh, that's in definitive? Okay, yeah.
So I think they're
adding screenshots maybe of the demo of that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's a demo now out, for those of you that don't know, of the definitive edition, and you can try out those challenges. There's 3 new ones I want to say. The one where the townspeople lie to you. There's a super Shy Pox, which even ups the ante of,
it affects the whole party at once.
Oh yeah. So everybody can't talk to anything.
Or y'all freeze up in battle.
Silvando is Shy Pox? I can't imagine that.
And then I thought there was another one, but maybe not. I even looking at my notes here, those were the 2 I had: the lying townsfolk and the super Shy Pox. But yeah, they're all there again.
There's a screenshot floating around of just like a random town's got like a guy in a town going like, "I'm your mother."
Yeah.
And ones where little old ladies like, "I'm the demon lord."
Yep.
So those were quite funny. I mean, the fact that I know pretty much where I need to go and the plot of the story, I may actually play with that on just for the laughs.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of the NPCs I really have no need to talk to again on this playthrough.
The other one's party wipe if the hero dies.
Oh, that's it. Oh man.
But everyone just dies if the luminary dies.
Yeah.
You get the game over, or you're back at lose half your gold, whatever. Back to the last save point. So it's Dragon Quest. You never get a game over.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that take half your gold instead of all of it.
Yes.
For some reason.
I get to keep the experience.
Yeah.
All right. So playing through the game, did you guys have a favorite scene that really stood out to you, either funny or emotional? Or, I mean, for me, it was the anger I had when I dressed the hero completely, said never see that haircut again, and then right at the end of Act 1, it switches to CGI, and the hero's hair is like blowing in the breeze. I was like, no, don't want to see that. spent 20 hours avoiding this.
I want you to lose a bet with me, and then like you have to cosplay as him with the hair.
It's a Den Halloween costume contest.
Yeah, there we go. I did cosplay as Eric one year. It was either
PAX East?
Again, PAX East and Comic-Con sometimes kind of blur with me. I think it was definitely PAX East because I remember my Boston friends being around for that. And that was a lot of fun, but I feel like I'm too old for Eric, like to pull it off. Like I feel like I need a younger man's face and physical disposition.
And you're not quite Rab yet.
Yeah, I'm not quite Rab. I'm not quite Eric. But one of my favorite scenes I think is probably when your characters are reuniting, and there's a scene where you're facing Hendrik, and Sylvando shows up, and he looks at the two of you, and he's like, "You two are acquainted," and it's just such a funny moment. just having this like extremely serious knight character who's very dark and brooding, and then like Sylvando just shows up and he's like, "Hi, darling," and it just it's just fantastic. The juxtaposition.
I like the running gag with Rab in the Ogler's Digest.
With the bunny girls on the cover.
Yeah, their Playboy version of the magazine, yeah. Because that comes up 2 or 3 times, and that chuckled at that every time.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Oh, those are always good. Dirty old man jokes.
Yeah.
And one of the last things we'll talk about here before we get into the discussion of the changes, and actually I'm going to bring it up here. One of the changes for the definitive edition is you can play dress up without having to sacrifice stats, because there were outfits in the game. Not every piece of armor, not every weapon. I think the weapons, you see them all in battle, but not every piece of armor changes your appearance. You know, your players have a default appearance, but there are certain pieces of armor, or either complete sets of armor. If you can get the shield, the armor, and the helmet all equipped, it changes the appearance of your player. In this game, you had to have those on. And as I mentioned with the hair earlier, the hero's hair in this one kills me. So, like, the first pair of armor, I would literally go from armor set to armor set and spend almost 20 or 30 hours in the same armor, so that he would always have the helmet on and not have to change. And I mean, going 20 hours without changing your armor, hero would be 20, 30, 40 defense behind other players, because everybody else I would just keep up with their the best I could buy, the best I could do it. I flat out was like, no, I mean, first of all, again, the game wasn't super hard. I wasn't playing with the super hard enemies. I'm like, I can do this. If he gets hit a little harder, no big deal. But I would play from armor set to armor set. Now, in the definitive edition, they're going to have it so that you could upgrade your armor, put on the iron armor, but still have your appearance set to like being the hero from 8, because that was one of the things that came with the game the first time around. You could dress your guy like the hero from 8, or and as you progress, there was half a dozen other armor changes, appearance changes for characters. But yeah, the definitive edition is going to let you dress up, so you can choose to look like you're wearing this armor, but really have whatever the heck you want on. Nice. And me, the whole point of the game was to keep the hair hidden. But did you guys have any favorite outfits for any of the other characters that you liked?
I kept everybody looking traditional. That's just kind of the way I played it the first time, because I like to see all the CGI scenes match the non-CGI scenes, so I just kind of kept everything traditional. I'm just kind of weird that way, but I did I thought the cat suit for Veronica was funny. I thought that was
especially in the cutscenes.
Yeah, I saw some that were really fun, like where she's pointing. Yeah, exactly. I'll have to play with that the next time I go through.
Yeah, I liked the hero's armor when he gets his father's armor, or like when there's like a certain point where you find your father's armor.
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that looked pretty badass.
I'll have to say something when we get to the spoilerific parts a little bit later about that one. That was some good armor, though.
Wait, we're going to have a spoiler part where it's like, okay, if you haven't played the game, turn the podcast off right now.
We will. We'll only talk for a couple of minutes on that. Just
Okay.
anything else, kind of round it up. Anything else you want to talk about? And if there's a spoiler you want to talk about, go ahead, talk here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, stick your fingers in your ears for the next 20 seconds.
Give us 5 minutes and I come back.
Yeah.
So, Liam, you want to run down some of the changes coming to the definitive edition?
Yeah. Sorry, you have more?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I would first the biggest one, and I think you hear a lot of talk about the 3DS version having this that we never got. And, is the 2D is coming to the Switch version, and that's going to be you're going to be able to play through the game in the 2D like a classic Dragon Quest game.
Like Super Nintendo graphics, I believe, is what it is.
16-bit.
Really. 16-bit, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way I'll be playing.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to play the whole game like this. I mean, Brian, you played it twice in full HD, so...
Yeah, that's another thing is you can basically play through the game, and then there's replay value in playing it in 2D again.
Mm-hmm.
So then we spoke before about horse kills. When a horse kills a monster, you now get experience points.
Nice.
You mentioned, Platty, playing dress up without sacrificing defense, like in Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Yeah, that has that too. You can pick what armor you want on, and pick what armor you want to look like you're wearing.
Explore past worlds from past games. That sounds pretty interesting. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. Do you guys know anything about that?
I know it has something to do with the, was it the Tickington?
Tickington was the town, and then they named the spirits Tockles.
Tockles, yeah. And
so I suppose it's like TikTok is the pun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and without getting too spoilery, whatever, there's time travel elements. Maybe your quantum leap, my quantum leap mention might have mentioned that. So something that you're supposed to do is apparently in this village, and it was in the 3DS version too. It allows you to travel to other worlds, maybe do a little scenario, and I don't know if it's all of them, but one I was looking at the other day that I was super excited about. It showed the party and 2D, and I think all of the old worlds are done in 2D. It had the Saber Cat area from Dragon Quest VIII.
Oh, wow.
And you could see that in 2D, and the guy standing outside the Saber Cat house, and there was Jessica, a Jessica sprite in 2D. Her back was turned, but it was very obviously with the purple dress and the red hair. I was like, oh my god, we're going to get Jessica sprites, official Jessica sprites.
And now you can do the perler beads with them.
And I can do perler beads. Yeah, like Dragon Quest VIII and Dragon Quest VII, I got nothing to go on.
Yeah.
I'm not an artist. I can do pixel art by copying the pixels from zooming in on these, but no, I can't. So I don't know if you're going to run into everybody, but I saw Jessica, and that really excited me. I know you're supposed to go to all or many of the old worlds, but
I think it's supposed to be all 10.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Only in 2D mode? Or is that something like they're going to have a 3D mode of a left guard that you can kind of... Because that's always been my... ever since playing 8 and 11, I'm just like, I want the next remake of 1, 2, and 3, and 4 to be like 3D.
11.
Like Unreal Engine. Yeah, like make it like 11. Like I would faint instantly if I read news like that.
From what I understand, it's only you're going into 16-bit versions of all the old games.
Okay,
that's still cool, but yeah.
Which is a change from the 3DS though, because wasn't 7 and 8 and 9 in kind of the 9-ish 3D graphics on the 3DS?
I don't know. I never made it much. I never looked much into that. So,
but I'm pretty sure in this one it's all 16-bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good for your perler beads.
Yes, it is.
You go to 10 as well?
I was trying to find that the other day, and I couldn't find a definite answer, but I thought one article I read said 1 through 10.
Huh. I mean, and that makes a lot of sense with the ending credits.
Yeah. And since we know nothing about 10 for the most part, it'll be interesting to see what they bring in for that, if there really is a 10 section.
We wouldn't know anything. They could tell us it was a 10 section. They could have just made it up. Like, hey, look, here's some 10 section.
Yeah.
Worldwide, have fun. We would never know the difference.
But you have to pay a subscription for that.
Yeah, right.
So what else do they got coming to this definitive edition?
So we've got new scenarios for times when the party is apart, like DQ4 almost. So you mentioned that before as well. There's going to be some extra plot and backstory to some of the characters. Yochi Village is Tickington with spirits called Tacos. We mentioned that earlier. Full orchestral music, which is pretty amazing. I remember seeing some information of some people playing the demo were surprised to see fully orchestrated music, which I particularly like. But Plattym, I know you're going to be playing with the sound off anyway, so.
Yep, won't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 as far as that goes.
All right, yeah, honestly, the music is not as maybe solid in this game as it has been in the past ones. I think maybe a lot of that has to do with Sugiyama's age at this point. But yeah, some of just even hearing some of the older music, like from 3, the Hado music is from Japan or Zipangu in Dragon Quest 3. There's a whole bunch of other themes. I think the sailing theme might be reused from 4. That are just a whole bunch of other stuff that you can now hear orchestrally in game, which is fantastic to people who love music.
When we were first told of this version, it very specifically, I remember in the press release or on the image that went out on Twitter and Facebook and everything, it said battle theme and overworld orchestral music. Like, it made a point of mentioning those two things. And then, yeah, with everybody who's played the demo, like, everything's been in it. Even little sound effects have been the orchestral version. So, seems they went full on.
What kind of sound effects?
Like when, if you're listening to the edited version of this now, which obviously you all are, a new party member joins. Zachary was saying that he was blown away by that. He was like, Eric joined his party in the demo, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that was the orchestral version."
That's the music we played earlier.
Yes.
When Woodus joined our party.
When I joined.
Yeah, when you joined. So, I don't know if they have orchestral for spending the night at the inn or something like that, but yeah, it's not just the overworld. Apparently, the town themes and pretty much everything.
Oh.
Should be for full orchestral. So, if you're interested more in this version, you can download the demo right now. You get to play quite a bit. You get to play up until you get a party of 4, I believe, at least the girls and Hodo. And so there's 10 to 15 hours of content in that demo. And, if it doesn't freeze up, we've heard a couple of rumors of that for you. I haven't heard anybody losing data, so that's good.
Yeah,
but your data from the demo carries over to the full version, so...
Yeah, I think Yengus's quote about that from our DQ, Yengus the Legendary Bandits quote, is basically, the real game better not do this. But it was basically like echoing like everyone's fears that hopefully there's that the actual it took long enough to actually come out with the Switch version, so we want it to be solid.
I mean, I can understand that, you're trying to take a full game and chop it off programming-wise at some point for a demo. So, that could introduce bugs that might very well not be in the full version.
Very true.
So, cross our fingers and hope that happens. So, all right now, if you've got never played this game and don't want to hear some spoilers, we're going to talk about it for a few minutes. Turn it down, hum to yourself for 3, 4, or 5 minutes, and come back because we got a question and that we were asked on Reddit, and we'll kind of wrap up here in a few minutes. All right, spoiler warning time, everybody. So, what did you think about the end of Act 1? Like, you get up to the Yggdrasil tree, and all of a sudden, the king that's been hunting you comes out. You find he's the bad guy. Was it Mortigan?
Yep.
He's actually been possessed by this guy for quite a long time, and that's
there's
why
even
he's hunting you.
There's
Yeah,
backstory there with that character and like where he comes from and everything that goes on into even Act 3, which is fantastic. But sorry.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so what do you think about the whole plot really changing at that point? Go ahead, Brian.
I figured there had to been something coming. It just was leading up to a major event, but I didn't expect it to go the way it went, especially with turning into a fish.
That is what happens next.
Yeah, that was definitely besides the fish part, that was definitely a kind of Empire Strikes Back ending where everything dark happens and you're like, what? There's got to be more to that. But yeah, but it was fantastic. And then you get to the fish mode, and I loved the fish mode. I wish I could kind of go back to that. I wish there was a time travel thing where I could go back to fish because it was so fun to explore, and like you can talk to sharks and stuff, and you can do all the stuff that you couldn't do in the previous game. But
It's
then
almost
it's a short time.
it's almost too bad they couldn't have had a whole underworld or under ocean area with that entire concept, kind of like the underwater of, was it 5?
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, or even just like an item that turns you back into a fish, so you can kind of take the sharks.
You do know that you can turn back into a fish anytime, right?
Just for that. Yeah, you can go back down there anytime after you get.
Go back down there.
You can go back down, but how do you turn into a fish again?
Talk to the queen.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, would you like to be a fish again? Yes, I would.
I learned something new on the podcast today.
There you go. Yeah, it allows you to go back into the store, buy from the shark again.
Oh, that's fantastic! I'm so happy about that.
I think you actually have to for a quest, don't you?
Yes, there's definitely quests down there.
Okay. Yeah. No, I haven't. I'm still actually in Act 3 because what happens is like my main time to play DQ console games is when I have free time, which is never. So I waited the last time until my wife was in Japan with our son for a while, and I just like binge played through Act 2 and most of 3, and then they came back, and I have kind of just played only a handful of times since then. But yeah, that's great to know.
I know the big part about the whole post game, and we're spoiling everything here. When you get your party back together in Act 2, and after you're done being a fish, you go around, you collect everybody. But the last person you go to collect is Veronica. And you're back in her hometown, and you see her apparently sleeping next to a tree.
Yeah.
And you approach her, and she's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a shock.
That was heart-wrenching.
Yeah. And the game, she comes back to you in spirit form and tells you that, when everybody got blasted to the four corners of the earth at the end of Act 1, she's the one who basically sacrificed herself to keep all you alive as you fell to earth. And at that point, like all of her abilities and everything that she can do goes to Serena, her sister. And Serena, I would say out of the 3 acts, I loved Act 2 Serena. She was a superpower.
Yeah,
I mean, she's got all the healing, she's got all the mage. Yeah,
she was
a sage.
Essentially a sage. Yeah. Act 2 Serena is fantastic. That's the only thing I think I was upset about in Act 3 was that when you're dealing with a lot of time travel stuff, is that Serena now has like gone back to her normal self and doesn't have super sage powers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the whole point of Act 3 is at the end of the game, you can beat the game and be fine, but it's like, we won, but we lost a party member along the way. Yeah. Is there something we could have done differently? Could we go back in time and change that?
Yeah.
And the hero kind of sacrifices a little bit to leave that time and go back in time with all his knowledge of what happens, and Act 1 ends differently then. And then I thought it was completely awesome that you see, like, okay, so if you beat Mortigan at this point in time, it actually allows a worse calamity to befall the world.
Yeah.
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 Like, when Mortigan rose to power, there was a galactic beast coming your way, and he was just like, bam, took care of that. With him defeated and everybody thinking the world's fine.
Yeah.
Now that begins the what you have to do in Act 3.
There is a great moment in Act 3 where you have the Sword of Darkness with the eyeball on it. It's like a corrupted version of Erdrick's sword, just like completely monstrous looking, and you're able to wield it for some reason with no curse, and you wield it again when fighting or like facing down Morrigan. He's like, "Where did you get that?"
So yeah, that was pretty cool, and the whole ending. You know, if you defeat the Galactic Beast, you get a cool ending. Brian, I know you've shared it out there on social media. I mean, it's not really a spoiler; it's just the credit scene, but it's that montage of different scenes from Dragon Quest 1 through 8. And oh yeah, you just shared the end part. That's right. But when the credits are playing, you get this whole montage of all the different games, and then it ends with those logos too. Whereas the logos change throughout it.
The logos are interspersed with shots from the old games.
Okay.
So I just cropped out each of the and made an animated GIF out of it. I've actually got the ending credit scenes if anybody wants to watch them on the Den page, because YouTube wouldn't let me upload them.
So there you go. If you, Liam, like, you haven't been able to go all the way through Act 3 yet, but if you'd like to see that, sure. I don't think the ending credits are in any way spoilery. It's just credits, isn't it?
Well, there's there is.
So yeah, Holland will return.
Yeah, it ends up where do you get called Erdrick, or you send somebody back in time because you're the luminary, you're the reincarnation of somebody from a long time ago, and isn't Serena also from a long time ago?
Yeah, there's definitely, I don't remember if it's fully spelled out, but there's definitely like even the legendary, the heroes of legends that you're the reincarnation of are like old Dragon Quest 3 references, like the cleric or the sage and the mage.
Well, the time sage is Serenica.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you send her back, basically.
That's right. That's right.
And then that's where it cuts to with the book.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of implied that all these Dragon Quests are like fairy tales read to somebody at some point. Right? Because you put the 11th book back on the shelf at the end, or the mom does, or something.
And it looks like it's the hero from 3 sleeping, and it isn't the same quote that's used in 3 when you wake up.
Yes. Yeah.
Wakey, 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 it's time to start your adventure, or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I did think about writing down these stories when, like, the Dragon Quest plots, just writing them down as a story to read to my son, like, especially when he was born in 2017 and I was in Japan.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, and so I started to write it, and then I just, I was just like, I'll just let him
play it. It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that goes on all of these.
Yeah.
I know I breezed through, the plot in like 3 minutes of the first act, but this is a 100-hour game if you play all the different stuff.
Yes.
And a lot more than that if you've got harder monsters on her, apparently, and are trying to platinum it or whatever. So, all right, we'll stop the spoilers right here. For those of you that want to turn it back on, I don't know how you'd hear me telling you this, but
take your fingers out of your ears.
Yeah, take your fingers out of your ears, everybody. You want me to yell it really loud? Start listening again. We actually got a comment, Liam, on Reddit. I was posting some Mary Thwack Puff Puff stuff around.
Don't use up all our good ideas. I feel like you're doing the Mary Thwack Puff Puff on Twitter a lot, and feel like at some point we're just gonna run out of ideas and be like,
Yeah, we can always mix and match.
yeah, red chest,
One from her, one from
clay
her,
pot,
one from
horse manure.
Thwack horse manure.
I feel like Woodus, we now have to like, you now have to answer that one.
Which one?
Red chest, clay pot, and horse manure.
Oh, that's just too weird.
All right, we'll get to our one question. We'll get to our one question, which is weird because it came up the other day, actually, on another podcast I was doing with RP Gamer. But we had this one guy, MLockWo2, MLOCKWO2, on Reddit, was asking about, he's like, oh, I see you're a podcast. Do you guys take questions? And I said, yeah. He wanted to know about story connections or what between the Zenithian trilogy. He wanted to know, was that like the Erdrick trilogy where they were actually game 1, game 2, game 3, but 3 was really a prequel to 1 or anything? What do you guys think? Or what have you heard throughout the years? Is the Zenithian trilogy really a linear trilogy or something? Liam, have you ever considered that? Thought about it?
I think it's loosely a trilogy. There's definitely some common themes with the floating castle and everything. But I think 6 is a prequel because it has like the birth of the Zenith dragon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 6 ends with a dragon egg, and it's
Yeah.
like cracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's not as tightly wound as Erdrick, where they have like the descendants and everything. But yeah, and I think even maybe the legendary equipment is called something different in each game, meaning like they lost the meaning of that history, but it's the same equipment.
And I know Woodus, you tried to help me find it on Wikipedia, so trust this completely.
Yeah.
It's mentioned that Yuji Horii mentioned that they just went with similar ideas. It wasn't meant to be a linear story. It was just they wanted to use that floating city kind of theme for a while, and it wasn't meant to say that the world of 5 is the world of 6 is the world of 4 so much, but they just wanted to keep it thematically kind of the same. Yeah. It definitely wasn't supposed to be as linear and followed exactly like 1, 2, 3. And that was actually on Wikipedia. It was actually mentioned as from like a 1990 Nintendo Power article, maybe not 90 because it wouldn't have been at that point, but it was referenced to a Nintendo Power article that he was quoted as saying that in, and we haven't been able to find that exact issue or a scan of that issue at all.
Do you remember which one that was? You should call it out here and see if anybody listening can find it.
Maybe I'll put it either in the show notes or I'll tweet it out because
somebody's got to have it.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Because I know archive.org doesn't have them up that far. They've only got up through like 120 or something like that, because that's where I looked for it.
It might have been like something like 98, 99 later in the, because obviously it would have had to been after Dragon Quest 6 came out.
Yeah.
So sorry, MLockWo2. There's a little bit of background. That's what Wikipedia says. We're trying to figure it out and get you a better answer. Hopefully you're listening to the podcast all the way through. You took your fingers out of your ears at one point.
For Wikipedia, the foremost authority on all knowledge.
Of course. It's all fact checked. And I'll be honest, I might not have even mentioned that had it not had the little citation next to it for Nintendo Power. So, of course, I couldn't prove the citation. So, oops.
I do want to point out, though, that 6 had one of the first early references, I think, to other characters from games existing within the same universe. So, in the bonus dungeon, the original bonus dungeon was called Death Cod. It was a play on the original Life Cod stage. So you start out, the first town, you start out in 6. In the remake for DS and mobile version, it's called Weaver's Peak and Reaver's Peak. And in both those cases, in the bonus dungeon, there's characters like, I think, Torneko, and I there's other, maybe Sancho. I think there's some Dragon Quest V references where you just run into these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Gotham twins, the kids from Five.
Okay.
But they're just kind of in the town hanging out, in this random town that you run into in bonus dungeon. Like kind of coexisting in a way that like Dragon Quest Heroes brings everyone together.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
Mm-hmm.
kind of like just magical portal type concept.
Yeah, and then they obviously continued that. I don't know if there's anything in 7, but in 8 you got like Ragnar and Torneko coming back to have like monster teams in the monster arena.
Yep.
And then in Dragon Quest 9, like everybody comes back and is a
Yeah.
guest that you're in.
Yeah.
If you
That was
had
cool.
DLC.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean after that point you get all those callbacks, and yeah, like Dragon Quest Heroes, the whole thing is, hey, guess what? We all just popped into this world right now.
Yeah, I think they explain that with some sort of like the Godbird,
Yeah.
Ramia or whatever the Phoenix name is in Dragon Quest Heroes, just kind of magically brings everyone. So I guess that's a new canon power for Phoenix.
She travels between worlds. Well, and she was someone that's been in multiple games. So talk about, I mean, if the bird can be a character, the god bird is in
3 and 8,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely 3, and then
3 and 8, yeah.
and even in 8, I think she mentioned something about the power to go between worlds. Well, I mean, she takes you to the dark world in 8.
Yeah.
So it's hinted along the way. I don't I don't feel the need to get into multiple universes of the DQ expanded universe at this point, but
It's the Dragon Quest multiverse.
so yep.
Yeah, the reportal from 9.
So you guys been playing any Dragon Quest games lately?
I just finished up the main storyline of Builders 2.
Okay. Are you gonna do any post game?
Well, the post game is kind of different just because it's kind of what you didn't complete before you finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and finish out the rest of the tablet targets and see if I can get the is it the chisel that's the last item you can get?
Mm-hmm. That can let you like basically design from anywhere.
It lets you take a square block and like shave off corners. So you can put
okay.
angles to them.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, they're again. And I said this on the first podcast. If you haven't already joined the Dragon Quest Builders group on Facebook, because you're going to see some amazing designs there. Stuff that I could never in a million years design myself.
Oh yeah, I've got my little mud huts like you said.
Yeah, I got Castle Dirt going strong.
Yep.
The 1 and 2, but yeah, some of the most amazing designs, and they'll feature them on the official Dragon Quest Twitter feed, usually on Fan Made Friday. But yeah, definitely check out that Facebook group because you're going to see some just amazing, inspiring, basically in-game works of art.
Yeah. I finished up Builders 2 a few weeks ago, about a month ago, and just recently have been playing Sly Mori Mori 3. A fan translation was released for that on August 1st. They dumped a beta version, and it's out there. You can definitely find it on GBA Temp and other places. Just search it up, the translation. I think even the website RPG Fan interviewed the people who were doing it, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. And
got it finally up and running last week, and I put 12 hours to it in like 4 nights.
Nice.
The website howlongtobeat.com, one person has gone on there and said it's a 20-hour game, and I think that's about right. I thought it was going to be a little shorter, and you're on a quest. It's much like the Rocket Slime, but with naval battles. And I would say there's a lot more naval battles than there were tank battles. I mean, you're doing naval battles quite a bit. 12 hours into it, I've probably done 80 naval battles. They're almost like random encounters in Dragon Quest games. There's some really big ones and some story-driven ones, but there's just ships all over the place. So as you're driving around the overworld, you could just have a little naval battle. But it's a great deal of fun. I put 12, 13 hours into it. I think I've got 5 out of the 7 orbs, and the first 3 went really quickly, and then suddenly there's a lot of story stuff and backtracking, and before you can get to the next ones, it was kind of like, hey, go to a new town, go into the dungeon, get an orb. Go in a new town, go in the dungeon, get an orb. And after the 3rd one, it started really having a lot more to do between them. But it's fun. It reminds me of Rocket Slime days. It's the same gameplay. I played the first one completely in Japanese. It's the same gameplay. Rocket Slime just added tank battles to the stuff you did in the first one, and this one is taking everything that you did in the first 2, but making naval battles out of it. So
awesome.
Yeah, I played the first one in Japanese too. I'm actually a little surprised that nobody ever fan translated it, but it's completely playable without understanding the dialogue.
Yep, you beat it. Yep, I did. Yeah, I did too. The final boss there was a killer. It took me like 4 or 5 tries, but
oh yeah, I do remember that being tough.
I can actually very distinctly remember where I was when I beat it. I was sitting in my ex-wife's car, melting outside of a TJ Maxx, because with a dead battery in her Honda Civic or whatever, and just waiting for AAA to come, and waiting and waiting and waiting, and I'm like just melting in the car, playing with my little retro card in a real DS, and had I not been sitting there, I don't know if I would have eventually given up and just said, damn, this final boss, but had to wait to get a jump start from AAA for like an hour and a half, and 4, 5, 6 times finally beat it. So anything else, Liam, that you're playing now?
I mean, I again, I don't have a lot of time, and my commute's shorter now, but I do play a lot of D24 mobile still. I just beat the DS version full percent with the, and I just love that game so much. I just instantly started it again on mobile, and this time I'm kind of trying to figure out what did I not do the last time, or what I not typically do. So I'm in chapter 3, and I've hired the help. I don't normally with Torneco's chapter. I usually just kind of plow through it and try to save money. And don't hire anyone, but you can hire NPC characters. And I don't remember what their names are in the original game, but in this one, the mage the mage called Laurel and a soldier called Hardy. Hardy, really Dragon Quest. Really, Laurel and Hardy. The Three Stooges not available. But yeah, I'm just I love, like, again, just discovering new stuff on replay that I just hadn't really explored the last time. I love doing that kind of stuff.
All right, so we'll wrap this up. I'll kind of give out some props to everybody that we did the first cast to. Thank you to Dwayne, our artist, for the our logo and everything. If you were looking for some awesome art, you can check him out at Dwayne Art on Instagram, is where he usually puts a lot of his stuff. He's also got a website, DwayneBullockArt.BigCartel.com. The music you heard at the beginning and the end, that is by the band Descendants of Erdrick, or Erdrick, however you want to pronounce it. They're out there. They're pretty good. They're a cover band for video game music, video game tribute band out of Austin. So thank you very much for you guys letting us use that music. And of course, we've had Brian on tonight, Woodus himself, and he's hosting everything you could ever imagine, Dragon Quest wise, at the Den. So many art commercials going back for Dragon Quest 9. If you're wondering where you can see Seth Green talking about Dragon Quest, it's on the Den. Fun. So again, we don't have a Patreon. We're not asking for money for our podcast. We're just a bunch of fans talking about what we love. But if you feel the need to contribute in any way, shape, or form, go over to the Den. You can click on the button support the site. If you want to donate $1, $2, $5, $10, go ahead and do that. If you want to just contribute without giving him some cash right away, you can use his Amazon link, affiliate link, and buy Dragon Quest games, pre-order Dragon Quest XI Definitive Edition, buy some of the older games. You've got direct links to pretty much everything that's on Amazon that's Dragon Quest game-wise.
Anything current anyway, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much anything in the past 4 or 5 years that is still out there and new. You can use his affiliate link. That'll help him out a little bit, keep the Dragon's Den going for hopefully another 20 years or more.
And no obligation there, too. And, I'm going to keep the site ad-free forever, as long as I can. Hopefully I can turn it over to one of my kids and they'll take it over.
The descendants of Woodus.
There you go.
There we go. Ooh, way to tie in that all together there, Liam. That was great. You can find us all on Twitter if you got any questions. The podcast itself is at DQ Slime Time. At Plattym3. Liam, where are you at?
I'm in Jersey now.
So go on Twitter and go to Jersey, and you can find Liam.
Yeah, at Riamu Celestrian.
And Woodus, you can be at Dragon's Den, right? Or
at DQ Dragon's Den.
DQ Dragon's Den. Just like Slime Time. Somebody took that. So we had to do DQ Slime Time. So there you go, at DQ Dragon's Den. Sorry about that. And if you want to talk about the podcast or join us in the forums at any time, it is www.woodus.com/forums, or you can go /den and see all the different stuff. We've got monster sprites there from all the different versions of all the different games, music and videos from a lot of the different things. Like I said, even the commercials. And Woodus.com is a great resource for anything archival that has happened with Dragon Quest in the United States and even overseas. You've got a lot of stuff. Like, what's that big one that was in the arcades?
Oh, Battle Road Victory.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of those videos up there too.
Yeah, Flute Warrior on the forums ripped a bunch of the battle move videos from that, and they're all out there from the Wii version.
Yeah, another game we never got. But yeah, lots of good stuff over at the Dragon's Den. Check that out. You guys have anything else you want to say before we sign off tonight?
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for resurrecting the podcast again.
Yeah, hey, one more episode and we'll be the longest running version of Slime Time. One more. We can do this. No promises,
so
but I think we're pretty secure in the fact that we'll have more of these.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully soon. And hopefully more often than we have.
And there's other Dragon Quest podcasts out there. Give Puff Puff Hour a listen to. Give Dragon Quest FM a listen to. We've loved their stuff. They've kind of inspired us to get this going again. So give both of those podcasts a listen. They're out there and have a lot more episodes than us, but maybe one day we'll catch up. It's not a race, but more Dragon Quest content is more Dragon Quest content.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Woodus. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast today and for talking with us.
Oh, yeah, it's been a blast.
All right, guys, have a good one. Quest on, everybody.
All right, sliming off.
Have a good night.